Hi, I'm Sid Watts, Watts Tree Farm here. We've been Christmas tree growers here on our property for, oh gosh, it must be nearly 40 years now that we've been actually growing trees. I started with just a few trees, an idea to just plant for our own use a couple of decades ago now, and it grew into an idea of actually becoming maybe a small commercial operation, and it got a little bit bigger. In our lot, we grow basically 3 species of trees. We have our balsam fir, which is our native fir and has been really the backbone in the industry in eastern Canada. We also grow some Fraser fir, which I started growing a few years back, and I quite like them. I'm very happy that we're able to get those locally. And we grow white pine. Pine is a different animal altogether. It's very different. Everything you do to it is almost exactly opposite of what you do with a fir tree. So we'll start by I'll show you how to shear a tree. This is a tree that's getting close to market size, or it is market size, and I'll just show you how we would go about shearing it. You'll notice in our lot, if you ever come in, and you're welcome to, by the way, we have them. Our trees are graded. Now they're not graded for the season yet. This pink tag in my hand is one from last year. This was actually graded as my number 3 grade, my lowest grade tree right here. And I can't believe that this year it looks gorgeous. It'll be very close to being a number 1 grade in my books. It's a beautiful tree. So what I'll do is I'll take my shears and I will go around this tree just to show you how we trim them up, just to make them look a little tiny bit better and neater for you. So it's just a matter, this tree is so neat already. It's really just a matter of taking some of the tips off. I'm going to get around behind here where you won't see me for a second. And as I come around again, it's really just a matter, this tree has needed very little. Most trees need quite a bit more work than this. And of course, what happens all the time is you'll end up with 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 tops of the tree. And that's too many, you only want 1. So I'll try to choose one that I think is going to likely be the best. I'll go with this one, I think. And the others will be cut very short. And in essence, and I'd probably go around and tip it here and there if I kept going, but in essence, that's our tree. There's your tree, ready for market. That'll absolutely grade up beyond a number 3 to at least a what we call a blue grade or a number 2. And in my books, from that angle we're looking at right now, that's a number 1 grade. And the reason we grade, by the way, is just to be fair to everyone, to be fair to me, to be fair to the folks who are buying them. They are priced accordingly, from lower to higher. And the other thing is, if we get a snow, which we get, because we're a choose and cut operation, I tell people, if you really want a nice tree, go look for the red tag and you'll be happy with the tree. And I know people are. So it's hard to see sometimes when they get covered in snow. We try to clean off what we can, but it happens. We're going to get snow. One of the most common questions folks ask me when they're coming to our lot is, how long does it take to grow a tree? And it's not an exact answer, of course, because it depends on the size of the tree and how well that particular tree grows. Typically, I say it's an average of about 10 years. Now, a tree this size right now is somewhere in that vicinity. It could be 9, it could be 11, I'm not sure exactly, but it's somewhere in that vicinity. So, and of course, a big tree, we get more a call now for some tall trees. Those are going to be in the lot for 4 or 5 years longer. So they are a lot more work for sure. But yeah, on average, 10 years is an easy, quick answer to folks to say, how long does it take to grow a tree? So this is where we start. We buy our seedlings from the nursery in Charlottetown, the J. Frank Goody nursery in town. Thank heavens for the province that grows these for us. And we're very fortunate that way. Anyway, this is a seedling. You can see they're pretty tiny. And it takes them a couple of years to really take hold and get established. So their growth in the first 3 or 4 years is very little. That tree may be 3 or 4 years from now. I know only up to where my hand is. Then it will start to take off and grow. But this year, of course, being the drought and the real heavy heat, we lost quite a few of our small seedlings. They just simply got fried out here is all you can say about it. They just couldn't get enough moisture. Our season starts generally in about April when I first come out to the lot to begin my work. Sometimes it's just cleaning up culled trees from the previous year. They're just not going to make a tree this year. And then we get right into fertilizing early in the season. Planting takes place early in the season. I get a little break of a couple of weeks between those and when shearing begins. And once shearing begins, I start with my pines, which I do around the end of June. They get going. And shearing just continues right straight through then for me, right straight through until I don't finish until maybe, if I'm lucky, the end of September. And then, of course, then I come in, I grade. Every single tree I have to walk around to and decide what grade is it going to be if it's a market tree. Every one. So they all get the tags, the red or the blue or the pink grades. And then we have our season starts. We start actually with some pre-selecting in November. So we're busy right straight through until Christmas, and then get a break until the following April. I grow a few white pines in our lot as well. And most growers only grow fir. And the reason being, pines are just so much out of sequence for everything that you do. They're treated very differently. Pines, I shear every single one of these with a knife. It's such a long bladed 18-inch blade knife that I literally walk around the tree when the tree is just about halfway through its early growing season in about late June up until early July. So it's a very narrow window for being able to shear pine trees as well. But as you can see, they make an attractive tree for sure. And I only do the white pine. I've tried Scots pine in the past, had very little luck with it. Tried red pine, no luck with that. So white's the only one that I grow now. One of the other things that we do at Watts Tree Farm to make some income is I'm a pen maker now. Now this is something I only started a few years ago. And the story behind that basically was I had some pieces of wood that were in my firewood that I knew were, and this is the piece that really started it all, or this kind of wood, is I had some curly maple that was coming out, and it was in my firewood, and we'd split it. You could see the twists in the grain. I'm gonna pick this piece up just to show you. But you can see the spiral in the grain here, how bumpy it is. And that is called curly maple. And that's the wood that I had in my basement that I said, I just can't burn that. I said, I gotta find a use for it. And I wasn't a pen maker, I'm not a woodworker per se. Long story short, one of the little lights goes on, the little click, and said, I know what I could do. I could make pens. I knew somebody who made some, and I got him to show me some of the finer points. So I knew the basics, and I just needed help with really getting to learn the finer points of it, which he did for me, and I appreciate that so much. So this is how it kind of goes. I get rough pieces literally that come off my splitter or that I see in the woods, and I'll set those aside. I'll take those home, and what I'll do with them then, I'll slice them with my chainsaw into pieces about an inch thick, and I'll dry those, and eventually I'll take those and I'll put them in on my table saw, and I'll turn them into these long squares, usually the length of a piece of firewood. The long squares get cut into two pieces just like this. You'll see that it's marked. This one happens to have a BE on it. That's bird's eye maple, and it has the lines in it, and it's numbered so that I can put those together when I make a pen. I'll pull out in this case here, it's a curly maple made like this one. The two pieces will actually literally make the top and bottom of a pen, and the flow of the grain will be right straight through them. So that's why they're all numbered and lettered the way that they are. One of the things that folks often ask me is, how long does it take you to make a pen? And because there are so many steps, tell you what I do. I tend to do them in batches, usually a batch of one style of pen. I'll do up pieces like these for about 25 or 30 pens. So it means right from the beginning, starting at the stage with the rough wood, the slicing it, putting it on the table saw and squaring it, cutting them into the smaller squares, and those are drilled, and there's a metal insert that is put inside of those. Then these ends are squared again before they go on to the lathe. So all in all, and I've tried to keep track of the various things to do a batch and add it all together and divide it by the number of pen, probably in the vicinity of about an hour and a quarter to do everything, because I'm starting with really rough pieces of wood, and it really, in another way, it takes me months, because when I start with a rough piece of green wood, it has to dry. So it's in my basement drying for several months. I'll dry it in this stage first, then I'll turn it into these squares, which I will dry down all the way till it's dry enough to be used to be made into the pens. So I can go right from this stage into the short pieces fairly quickly. One of my favorite things too, people often ask me, do you have a favorite wood? In fact, I do. And it happens to be chokecherry. And the reason I love chokecherry so much, number one, it's just a shrub species that grows out in our woodlot. And when I cut one, I had one, I said, I gotta try that. It has the most beautiful grain and wood in it that's just fantastic. And what I love so much is that it's a non-commercial species, and it never will be, other than to someone like me who can make little tiny things out of it. So it's beautiful wood. So I'm so thrilled to find something as beautiful that in my woodlot that I can turn into something beautiful that folks can have and keep forever.